You're standing in a room where the air has gone completely still. Someone at the front is speaking with real weight, the kind of moment where every face around you has settled into stone. And right then, from somewhere deep in your chest, you feel it rising. Not tears, not solemn silence, a laugh. You clamp your jaw shut. You bite the inside of your cheek. You stare very hard at a spot on the floor. And still, it keeps trying to escape. Why, at the one moment your body should know better, does it choose that exact instant to betray you?
This isn't rare, and it isn't rude, though it certainly feels that way in the moment. Ask almost anyone, and they'll have a story. A courtroom gone silent before a verdict, a solemn ceremony, the split second right after devastating news lands in a meeting room, where laughter showed up completely uninvited, like a guest nobody remembers extending an invitation to. It happens so often, it has its own vocabulary. Actors call it corpsing, the moment a performer breaks character and starts laughing mid-scene, unable to stop. Scientists who study laughter for a living call themselves gelatologists. That's a real field, from the Greek word for laughter, not gelato, though you're forgiven for hoping otherwise. What's strange here is that none of this is a character flaw. It isn't proof that you're secretly cold or unserious or bad at reading a room. It's proof of something stranger. Laughter was never really about humor to begin with.
Here's where it gets interesting. Robert Provine, a neuroscientist who spent years simply walking around and recording people laughing in ordinary, everyday life instead of studying it in a lab, found something the sitcom laugh track never tells you. Only about 1 in 6 laughs he recorded followed anything resembling a joke. The rest came from completely unremarkable conversation. Nervous energy, social bonding, tension breaking apart in real time. Laughter, it turns out, is less a response to comedy and more a release valve bolted onto your nervous system. Pressure builds up inside you through fear, grief, adrenaline, sheer overload, and it needs somewhere to go. Crying is one exit. Laughing is another. So what decides which exit your body reaches for?
Provine noticed something else, too. Something you've probably lived through without ever putting a name to it. People laugh roughly 30 times more often around other people than they do sitting alone. Hand someone the funniest video ever made and let them watch it in an empty room, and they'll barely crack a smile. Put the same clip in front of a packed theater, and the laughter spreads through the crowd like it has a mind of its own. Laughter, in other words, was never really built for content. It was built for connection, a signal that travels between bodies almost faster than thought does, which means the room itself matters. A silent, tense, crowded room is exactly the kind of environment where that ancient social circuitry is primed and ready to fire, whether the content in front of you is remotely funny or not. Psychologists Peter McGraw and Caleb Warren, who run a humor research lab built around exactly this question, have an answer called the Benign Violation Theory. In plain English, something strikes you as funny when it breaks a rule, crosses a line, violates how things are supposed to go, but does it in a way that still feels survivable. A tense, high-stakes moment is basically a violation with no safety label attached. Your brain scans it in real time, running a background calculation. Is this a threat, or is this something I can live through? And every so often, in that split-second judgment call, your nervous system tips the wrong way and files the moment under funny, purely because that reads as less frightening than filing it under catastrophic. Your body isn't mocking the moment, it's mislabeling it. Here's the part that makes it worse, not better. The harder you try to suppress a laugh, the stronger the urge usually becomes. This isn't a willpower problem. It's a plumbing problem. Trying to override laughter through sheer effort is a lot like trying to override a sneeze. The reflex doesn't care how embarrassed you are. The vagus nerve, which threads from your brainstem down through your throat, chest, and gut, sits right in the middle of the same circuitry that manages stress and arousal. When you're overwhelmed, your body pushes for release, whether you approve of the timing or not. Clamping down on the sound doesn't cancel the reflex. It just adds pressure to a system that was already at capacity, which is exactly why the laugh you fight hardest to hide is usually the one that eventually comes out the loudest. Think about how a laugh actually feels from the inside, physically, in your chest, before any social judgment gets attached to it. Your diaphragm contracts in short, involuntary bursts. Your breathing pattern shifts entirely out of your conscious control. Your face does things you didn't choose. None of that is a decision. It's closer to a system reboot. Your body cycling through a hardwired sequence, the same way it does when you flinch from a loud noise, and about as available to negotiation.
And this isn't just a quirk of individual bodies. It can scale up further than you'd expect. In 1962, at a boarding school in what was then Tanganyika, now Tanzania, a wave of uncontrollable laughter broke out among a small group of students and spread until the school had to shut its doors. It moved into nearby villages. In some places, it lasted for months. Investigators ruled out poisoning and ruled out any pathogen. What they found instead looked closer to contagious stress. Researchers now generally treat it as a documented case of mass psychogenic response, tension with nowhere else to go, discharging itself through the one shared involuntary channel available to an entire community. Same reflex you feel biting your cheek in a silent room, just scaled up until it became a matter of historical record.
There's a genuinely cruel irony hiding underneath all of this. The moments most likely to trigger a misfire, grave, tense, emotionally overloaded moments, are the exact moments where laughing is treated as the least forgivable response available. A wedding toast that goes sideways, a stranger tripping on the sidewalk in front of a silent crowd, a courtroom the instant before a verdict is read. Your nervous system and your social environment end up working against each other at precisely the worst possible time. One system is trying to discharge pressure as fast as it can. The other is demanding total stillness. You're caught in the middle, doing damage control on a reflex that was never asking your permission in the first place. So the next time it happens, and if you're a laughing human being at all, it eventually will, it helps to know what's actually going on underneath it. That laugh was never a verdict on how seriously you were taking the moment. It wasn't proof that something is wrong with you or that you don't feel things the way you're supposed to. It was a very old, very blunt piece of biological machinery doing precisely what it evolved to do: discharge pressure through whichever exit opened first. Knowing that won't necessarily stop the laugh from arriving uninvited next time, but it might stop the wave of guilt that usually shows up right behind it. There's even a strange kind of usefulness buried in the timing. A body with no release valve for unbearable tension doesn't stay calmer. It just stays flooded with stress hormones for longer, with nowhere for that charge to go. The badly timed laugh, as embarrassing as it feels in the moment, is your nervous system refusing to let the pressure set up permanent residence. Evolution didn't design you to be composed under pressure. It designed you to get through the pressure by whatever exit happened to be closest. Because that laugh was never really about the moment being funny. It was about the moment being too much. And your body, in its clumsy, mistimed, unglamorous way, doing its best to help you survive it. Standing in that hushed room, biting the inside of your cheek, you weren't failing the moment at all. You were surviving it, one badly timed exit at a time.